So this is a system for doing these one-on-one meetings that I was talking about. So the one-on-one meetings are, and they don't, oops, this is the wrong one. They don't have to be, let's go through this view. They don't have to be done once a week, but I'd say once a month is kind of like the minimum. So I'm looking at the one-on-one meeting process here in the control panel view. So the one-on-one meeting process is in the Guiding the Business library. Let's go back there for a second. Here's Guiding the Business. If you go to Add from Library, General Processes, the one-on-one meeting processes are here. So you just select them and then move them over into your system. So they're going to explain how to have these meetings. And the reason you see these little exclamations is I must have this in a second time in my system somewhere. It's just saying it's a duplicate. So here's a work plan for how to create the agenda, how to prepare for it. Down here, there's a form for scheduling the meetings. Now, a lot of you use Outlook or something like that. This is kind of nice for planning them out if you have a lot of employees, like through over a year time or a week by week or month by month. You want to think of a regular time. You don't want to be spreading it out and then changing the times every week. So have every employee listed, and again, you can do this in your contact management system if you want, or if you like this idea of having a form for it, obviously you can use this. What are the dates going to be and what are the times? And as the manager, be committed to that time. Don't change it for any reason unless you're sick or on vacation. Get the employee to feel the sense that you are committed to this time no matter what happens. It's an important time for you to sit with the employee, and then the employee will make it important as well. Remember that you can start to save things for the meeting, communications, not this walk-around management style where I have something to say to everybody as I'm walking around. That's stressful. You've got to keep it all in your head, stressful for the employee because you're really interrupting them by walking around and talking to them. If it's an emergency, obviously you need to discuss it with them if there's some kind of time constraint to it. But if it can wait for the meeting, then save it for the meeting. Here's a form, the meeting form. So this was to the question that was asked. So here in the meeting form, I can have items to discuss. So I can look at the job description and put in key items, key processes that I want to discuss. I can put in goals from last period, goals from this period. If I want to take the job description and cut and paste it into this form, I can. Or I can cut and paste it right into this field here, items to discuss. Generally, if you're having the meeting week to week, you won't go through every process in the entire job description. You might just want to pull out processes and put them in the items to discuss. So we're going to talk about the list generation. We're going to talk about this process and that process. And then maybe you'll highlight one you want to train on. So you can use an agenda form like this one, or obviously you can make your own. Here in Touchstone, there is something called a control panel, for those of you who haven't seen this yet. And we're going to have a whole training on this. But the control panel is where you go to use processes. So I was over on the 4 functions, and that's where the documentation of the process is created. Something you pull from the library. You've got documentation in the process tools. Once I've built my job descriptions, I can then start using what's called the control panel. So here, I'm seeing a list of all the processes that are on the job description for the manager of marketing and sales. And if I want to use these processes, here I would go to use them. So here's that one-on-one meeting. I could call up the meeting form. When I select it, it's giving me a blank copy of the form. Here I can go and fill these things out, fill out the information. And this is what I literally do week to week, and then save it. I don't print these out very often. Sometimes if I have to go out of the office, then I will, but generally I keep them in Touchstone. And everyone's used to me just pulling them up right on the screen and sit and talk about it. And then I put in information that I want to keep right here in the form. Clearly, if you don't want to do it that way, you can print this out and then write down as you're talking to the employee as you're in the meeting. So then once this is saved, it date and time stamps it, and then it saves it here in this completed folder. So the next employee that I'm getting the meeting form together for, I select this, it opens it up again. Now I've got a clean copy of the form. I can put the employee's name in. I usually just put it in the Save As, and then fill out the information and save it. Now if my manager ever wants to see, gee, I wonder if she's been doing her one-on-one meetings and I wonder what's been happening, they can go here to this in Management Review, which is accessible here through the home page, and my manager can go and look at these forms and see what I've been doing. No one else can access them or see them because they're in my control panel. But my manager coming in through this section can take a look and see. So the one-on-one meetings are about this verbal communication regarding processes. And you can print these forms out and from the 4 functions in the process list, export them to Word and keep hard copies of them in folders if you want. I love having them in the control panel and Touchstone because at the end of the year, when I'm going to do the performance review, or if I've got an employee with a big issue, like there's been, like I'm thinking of firing them issue, all my information on all the meetings and everything we've ever talked about is here inside of Touchstone. And I can just, this is what I do at the end of the year, I can run a report and call it, Sam, call it the employee. And now I see, everything, Sam's review all over the years, his meetings, the one-on-one meetings, his sales training, here's more one-on-one meetings. So usually there's not this much stuff, and if you refine the search results, then you can make it more specific. But I've got all this information right here, and I can just look through it if I want to remember, did I warn him about that? When did I warn him? Say he's asking for a raise. I can look back and say, does he warrant a raise? So there's something to be said for keeping this information in Touchstone because it makes it very accessible for the managers. And as we go through the training sessions, I'm going to be talking more and more about the types of processes that are useful to have inside of the control panel and inside of Management Review. When you're a manager managing processes, to have a system like this where you can see the process, you can see it completed, you can complete it yourself, and all that information is stored, it becomes very useful to get even more effective at managing the process. So inside this one-on-one meeting process, there's an explanation of how to do it. That's what the work plans are. And then you've got these simple tools here for the scheduling. Now, if you want to change this around, if you want to hold the meeting different, if you want to have a different form, these processes that are pulled from the library are all editable. So change it, make it your own, decide how you want to use it. Never look at a library process and think, oh, I'm not going to do it this way, and then just forget about it. Go to the process and edit this down and really make it something that will work for you. Since we're here on this screen, I just want to highlight a few things that are regarding the new release that happened last week. You'll notice now if I want to edit the title of this process, I just click that, and then this is all editable now. Before, you had to go edit process details or go to edit mode to be able to edit. Now it's just one-click edit. And I'm happy with this. I save it. Objectives, same thing. Just click it, and then now this is open to edit. Save it. If I'm on a work plan or any of these tools and I want to edit them, all I do is select the task, and it opens it to edit. So there's no more edit mode anymore. If you want to edit something, you just click it, it opens it, and you can edit it. Much better than before. Save buttons down here instead of being at the top. Also the drag and drop, I can reorder like this now, which is so cool. So that's not yet available on the job description page, but it will be soon. So I just move these tasks around. These forms down here, if I want to edit this, I just click on it, and now it's in edit mode. And then I can change it. So this one-click editing you're going to see all over Touchstone now, which is pretty cool. Also on the 4 functions screen, right here, the drag and drop exists here as well. So if I want to reorder these processes, now I just move them up and move them down. If I want to take a process and move it to a different function, I just take it and grab it and move it to that function or delete it. So this new functionality you'll kind of notice as you're in Touchstone now, and it's really about the one-click editing and then also, the ability to drag and drop. By the way, the performance review process that I was referring to is also in the Guiding the Business library. This is the performance review process right here. It's got work plans on how to set up the review, and it talks pretty much in a little more detail about but exactly the same idea as what I was saying about using the job description as the key elements of the review. Down here we've got the forms as uploaded files. They're also in the form tool. So here's the performance review form. And here I've taken the work listing directly from the job description and put it in. So handling requests for information to be sent out, referral process, I give it a grade and give it comments. So this is like the kind of process that you can take right from the library and just use. And it really fits nicely with the one-on-one meeting process. So if you can implement something like that, where if it's once a month, once a week, you do some type of one-on-ones, some kind of check-in on the processes, ongoing training, dealing with issues based on processes, and then you fold it all up into some type of review at the end of the year with this kind of format in mind, you're going to have made a great stride in your management. Let's see. I have one more question. Question box is so small. Is Touchstone usable in Chrome now? Yes, it is. I'm in Chrome right now. So Touchstone's compliant with Chrome now. It's also compliant with Safari. So, but a lot of people use Chrome with Safari. So, yeah, it's all Chrome compliant. Any other questions? No? All right. So if you haven't gotten to the point where you've built your job descriptions yet, consider doing that. Consider what we talked about today. Sometimes I think users get in and just start documenting processes in the 4 functions and kind of leave this org chart and job description idea. If you've done that, consider going back and taking another sweep at it, doing your 4 functions, building your org chart, building the job description. It's just a few extra steps, doesn't take that much time, and it sets the organization of Touchstone up very nicely, and it also gives you this result of having a job description. It's a great hiring tool, great training tool, great management tool. So next week we're going to talk about documenting processes. So we're going to discuss the different process tools that are available for the documentation. We're going to talk about, first, work plans and checklists, how to use those, what they're used for, how to use all the functionality inside of Touchstone. So at this point, if you're a manager or an owner on the line now, if you have employees that you're thinking you want to have documenting processes or updating processes, next week would be the time to bring them on to the training sessions. So they can watch the next 2, because we'll cover process tools over the next 2. They really don't need to know anything else if they're just doing documentation. I mean, ultimately, they're going to need to know how to use the control panel if you want to implement that functionality. But just to be able to get in, go to a job description and start documenting the processes, I'm going to talk about everything you need to know to do that over the next 2 sessions. Thanks for coming, everybody. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.